Hello everyone, I'm Nick Hopwood, though most of you probably already know me if you've been working with me in the classes here at UTS. This is a short video about something quite boring but something really important, and that is good record keeping in fieldwork. And I'm particularly thinking of social science kind of fieldwork where you have lots of pieces of data. That could be lots of interviews, different documents, lots of focus groups or observations or field visits or something like that, where you have lots of different kind of units or pieces of data. Going to mainly show what's on the screen rather than make a video to. And so, yes, here we go. I'm going to make a case for using Excel, though obviously the main thing is to think about the process that's involved here and what it's doing for you, not the particular software. And a big caveat is obviously as well that I'm going to explain what worked for me in one project, but what works for you in terms of what it makes sense to record and the information that you'll be needing will be very different. So I'm going to switch off my photo video. So the first thing I'd like to say is, and I'm going to show you here something from a document which if you're working with me here at UTS you'll have been sent, and if you're not, here it is on the video. Good record keeping will help you track every separate piece of data collection, and it will help you link those to key relevant information, such as the date on which you collected the data or participant identifiers. And what's relevant here will depend on your research. It should also link to a systematic approach to naming your files, where file names contain as much relevant information as possible, and I'll show you a bit later. But I've put here EEG P03 V1 1402 12 13 tells me photo from a third visit, or photo number 3 from visit number 1, and gives me a date if that's important. This is important because doing this kind of record keeping or indexing helps you see how different pieces of data link to each other. So if you're working on one bit of data, you can very quickly cross-refer to other data that are linked to it in some way. That may be from the same day, it may be because it's relating to a similar kind of data, like the same participant or the same research site or something like that. It also, I'm suggesting, is where you should keep clear records of participant consent and withdrawal and your pseudonyms that you're using. And although this is mainly a logistical or administrative thing, of course there is space for some immediate analytical reflections. So a lot of this is about cross-referring. Now, I did this in a software called Excel, in which I had a number of different worksheets. Now I'm going to explain, I'm going to show you the worksheet and show you why it worked for me. So let me just move the box around here. Here is my worksheet, and you can see looking at the bottom here where I've got the cursor, the main worksheet is called Summary, and the columns I have are which number of visits it was. So you can see NH visit, that's me, Nick Hopwood, and my first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth visit. I was working with somebody else, so we recorded her visits. I've got the calendar date, which week number it was, which was whether it was the first week, second week or third week of fieldwork, and that was important because this site where I was doing my research worked on weekly cycles. So by scrolling down to the end, I can see that I saw 29, I was there in 29 different weeks, and some weeks I was there 3 or 4 times within the same week and other times only once. The day of the week is recorded because the day of the week is important in the site where I was doing my research, which was called Karatani. One thing I can do is look at all the Mondays very quickly, or all the Tuesdays. The time of the day was important because that related to shift patterns. So who was there, whether it was just me and my colleague, or just my colleague. Book refers to which of the original field notebooks I could look into to see the raw handwritten data. The structure talks about, for example, which person I might have been shadowing on a particular day. The name is something I just make up to help me remember the days, like you would name a program on a TV series or something like that. And then I get some comments there, which might be to give me a bit more detail and perhaps record some analytical reflections. And I'm going to show you 2 things here in Excel. First of all is the filter function, which I can do by pressing Command-Shift-F, like that. Or I can go to Data and Filter. And all of a sudden you'll see these arrows coming up here. Now, for example, I was interested in Mondays because they're the days when families arrived at this unit and certain particular things happen. I can just select Mondays And there we go. I have all my different data from Mondays there, just showing where I can find those field notes. Let's go back and look at them all. So I could do the same for all sorts of different things, just the fieldwork where my colleague was there, or just the fieldwork from a particular week. Now I'm going to switch the filter off and show you something else, which is split in the windows. So here we see some grey bars have come up. Now I'm going to move this grey bar up to the very top there and move the vertical one right over to the left. And now what we'll see is, as I scroll up and down, the column headings stay put, so that when I'm right down towards the bottom of it, I know exactly which column I'm looking at, and that's a very helpful thing to do. My second worksheet, you can see down here at the bottom, is to do with photos. And here I took a number of photographs. In fact, you can see how many I took by scrolling right down. 338. Now that's a lot of data to keep my head around. So what I did was, I have a different row for every photograph, and give each photograph a number. Equally, I have the dates, so I can check that against the dates of the visits. But to make that more easy, I've actually noted which visit number relating to the visit numbers here. So if I see visit 1 here, then that also means visit 1 here. And then I've given them a file name. Now in the file naming practice, I put number 1, which is the photo number, and then the second number is the visit number, and then some description. So a lot of information is carried there. Number 1, visit 1, and then some information. Who took the picture and a description of it. I did the same with my documents. The visit number, the file name, and the date, and a stamp. I can't show you these two worksheets down here for confidentiality reasons, but I did also, as explained in the document, within this same Excel file have a sheet which listed the staff names and surnames, the date that they gave consent, whether they withdrew, which in fact none did, and information about their role in the organisation. I had the same for families. I was linking for them, for example, to which visits, site visits that I made that the families were present on. So all my data is very, very linked together. Now, I mentioned file naming. I'm just going to show you. So here is my folder, which is all from this research site, Karatani. Now, if I go to data, I have the fieldwork overview, which was just me keeping multiple copies of this spreadsheet as it kept going. Here are all my notes, but the ones I'm most interested in are these ones. So here are the photographs. Now, if I just go back to my Excel file, there you go, and then bring up this folder, you can see that these file names are identical to the ones here on the Excel, and there's lots of information here. So I can quickly scroll down, and if I'm looking at my field notes from visit 42, so say I'm down here in visit 42, I can go to the photos and I can go, all I have to do is look in that second column down here and see if there are any photos from visit 42. And turns out, yes, there were a few photos taken there. Similarly, I could find the documents from that visit without any problem at all. So file naming is really important. Now I'll just go back here to the summary and mention a few in the description column, this column 10. This mainly for me was a reminder of what I did, but you could choose to introduce some very early analytical ideas if you want. But I would suggest really this is about record keeping, and that a different process is important for monitoring your analytical ideas. This is about being able to manage and track and count if necessary, and particularly cross-refer to different bits of your data. What I'd really encourage you to do is to think about, well, what are the different pieces or units of data that I'm collecting? How do they vary? How am I going to keep track of them? And what are the columns that are relevant to me? What different worksheets might I want? And what file naming practices am I going to use to make it very clear to me how to find information, and when I'm looking at it, to tell me where it's come from? I know this has been boring, but it is really important stuff, and it's stuff that a lot of people have said they wish they knew before they started their fieldwork. So I hope this is useful. All right, goodbye.